Welcome to the Legal Lounge here on CRN Digital Talk Radio, CRNTalk.com, streaming live coast to coast and around the world on CRNTalk.com. Also available in stunning high-definition video on Facebook.com/CRN Talk, on CRN's custom-built for free Roku channel in the Roku store, and Tiki Live, and CRNTalk.com. I'm joined, as always, by the one and the only, an active attorney, U.S. Army veteran, Juris Doctorate in Law, undergraduate degree in physics, and author of a book that has proven to be a guideline for the Supreme Court now and in the future. That book, American Illusion of Freedom, is available on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and on iTunes. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Richard Nixon, and the show where you get the news you get nowhere else. How are you, Richard?
Well, I'm pretty good. However, I've gone through the usual thing regarding President Biden. I think you remember from in the past where he's given a speech, and he's basically read from a teleprompter, that I've given him about a 95 on delivery, and if I didn't know that half of what he said was false, I'd be persuaded. But what I'm concerned about now, quite frankly, is I'm ambivalent about Mr. Biden now, whether I feel sorry for him or I want to hold him responsible for all the damage he's done regarding the illegal drugs and the gang members and the rapes and so on. Maybe he doesn't even know this is happening. I don't know. But before we close out this section, I just want to say that his people thought they were going to help him by having him speak the next day after the debate with Mr. Trump, where he really got shot down by Mr. Trump. The next day he was speaking, and it was with the teleprompter, and he did very well. And that tended to compare how he performs when he has nothing else to help him and how he performs when he's simply reading. So it did him no favor. He did not exonerate himself. It made it worse.
I think so too, and also, he tried to quell some of these calls from both sides for him to step out of the race, and he maybe even resign the presidency. He did a sit-down interview, non-prompter, with George Stephanopoulos this week, and that did not go well for him either.
No.
And also, I think a lot of people were off-put, myself included, because he was so defiant when it comes to questions about his capacity to lead this country. And so I think, just even partisan politics aside, when you have, and then, interestingly enough, Richard, he told staff and also a group of Democratic governors that what he needs to do is he just needs to get to bed earlier. Yeah,
and that it's really his only problem, he said, I think, is my brain. I think he said that. Now, who knows if he really said it?
Apparently, the reporting is he apparently said that sarcastically.
I got
That's what they're saying. But, I mean, Richard, when there's a major world crisis, oftentimes that'll happen after 8 p.m. And so if you have somebody that needs to be in bed by 8, I don't know how you can be president.
Mike, it reminds me real fast. It reminds me of a situation where the policeman stops you for speeding and you give him some kind of an excuse where you're basically admitting you were speeding. You just got your ticket right there. As soon as you admitted it, you got your ticket.
Yeah.
You don't expect the policeman to understand you were speeding. It's absolute, and that's it.
Now, the New York Post now is reporting they detained some visitor logs. And in January 17th, apparently, Dr. Kevin Kennard, a neurologist and Parkinson's disease expert, visited the White House. And that was in January. So we're definitely going to be watching this moving forward for the legal implications as well as the political. But right after the break, Richard and I are going to, I believe we had this one when it came to presidential immunity. Though there's some flaws. We'll stick around. We'll be right back.
You're experiencing pain, back pain, shoulder, elbow, or hand pain from a sports injury. If so, schedule a visit with Dr. Michael Sheps, the leading expert in laser therapy for pain management. Call 310-873-4422 or go to drsheps.com. Experience Epic T, the breakthrough laser therapy system that Dr. Sheps developed to make you pain-free in less time. Laser therapy is a non-invasive, safe, and effective in-office procedure that penetrates deep into your skin without damaging the tissue. It perfectly targets areas of pain to promote fast, natural healing. Relax your muscles, ease muscle spasms, joint stiffness, and arthritis pain while increasing blood circulation. For over 25 years, Dr. Sheps has helped Olympic athletes and sports enthusiasts alike get back in the game. Schedule your visit with Dr. Sheps at his Brentwood office in California. Call 310-873-4422 or visit drsheps.com. That's DRSHEPS.com. 310-873-4422.
We are back in the Legal Lounge, CRN Digital Talk Radio, CRNTalk.com. So, Richard, we had an historic precedent-setting ruling from the Supreme Court earlier in the week. We've covered this case extensively. This initially started out in Washington, D.C. This is known as the January 6th case brought by Jack Smith. More on him later. And President Trump's attorneys brought a motion to the courts, that particular court in D.C., saying that the president should enjoy total immunity. That went to the D.C. Circuit, and the D.C. Circuit ruled that the president does not enjoy immunity. And both you and I had serious problems with that ruling. That ended up going to the Supreme Court, and we have a decision. And according to Chief Justice John Roberts, who wrote for the majority here, this is a 6-3 decision that, quote, briefly, presidents have immunity for their official acts when those acts relate to the core powers granted to them by the Constitution. For example, the power to issue pardons, veto legislation, recognize ambassadors, and make appointments. But when it comes to the president's other official acts, Roberts continued, there is, on one hand, the concern that allows criminal charges against a former president for his official acts would affect his decision-making while in office. A president inclined to take one course of action based on the public interest may instead opt for another, apprehensive that criminal penalties may befall him upon his departure from office. That's what Roberts wrote in his majority concurrence.
Right.
What were your thoughts initially when you heard that the president, specifically in this case, President Trump, enjoys pretty broad immunity?
It's not as broad as I hoped it would be. Here they go, ignoring my book again and not following my advice.
Bastards.
Yeah, because first of all, by leaving anything out there to be argued over, you're going to have the opponents of the president conceivably sue again, not necessarily Mr. Trump, it might be anybody, some president, because you haven't exactly shut the door on this thing. They should have given him absolute immunity. That is to say, that the president we know under the impeachment clause basically says that if the president is impeached and then he is found guilty, liable, or convicted by the Senate, he can be removed. And now it does say that he may be removed. Now, that's another thing people haven't mentioned. It doesn't say he must be removed. It says he may be removed. Okay, now, given that, if he's convicted during the impeachment trial, he can then be prosecuted like any of us. Okay, now, that being the case, that in my mind should be the only punishment that you can levy against a sitting president. And it makes no difference to me, frankly. I can't see how, once a person leaves office as president, how suddenly what he did as president somehow becomes enhanced such that he can now be prosecuted for it. Now, again, unless he's been removed, that is the whole point. Then he is absolutely immune. Otherwise, what you're going to get is what you got in this case, where what the Supreme Court did is, in order to determine whether Mr. Trump did something official or unofficial, it's going to be remanded back to the trial court to determine whether or not a particular act was official or non-official. And there you go. That could happen at any time, in any case. And there you've got the president tied up in a lawsuit again.
So there's language in this decision. It's a very, very dense 119-page decision written by the Supreme Court here, with Mr. Roberts writing the majority. And he describes 3 separate, even though I think these all could be related depending on lawyering, the president's immunity powers. He has his core authority, right, which is his constitutionally enumerated powers in Article 2.
And those given to him by Congress, yes.
And then there's the presumed official acts,
right,
which are, like signing this and signing that, day-to-day operations, you might say.
Okay.
And then non-official acts. And so, and Richard, I'm a little bit unclear on this.
As am I.
based on the language, though, that you can't introduce any certain evidence if a president was charged for a crime based for non-official acts.
Right.
You really can't introduce certain facts of evidence, including motive? I'm a little bit unclear on this.
Well, yeah, because, and again, it gets back to the case involving the prostitute, if you will.
The Stormy Daniels.
Stormy
hush money
Daniels case, right. The whole point was that the Manhattan District Attorney, Alvin Bragg, said that his case against Donald Trump was, we are alleging falsification of business records to the end of keeping information away from the electorate. It's an election interference case. Now, Mr. Trump in this case was saying, no, I paid this money to this woman, or offered to pay it. Actually, I did pay it through my attorney, Mr. Cohen, but it was done to save embarrassment. I didn't want my wife to know if I did have relations or not with this woman. So that is the point, that the payment of that money is something that many people have done to keep people quiet. And I kind of kiddingly said, ask your congressman. He's probably done it. But the point is, because they chose, that is to say, the jury chose to view this as though this payment was made to somehow affect the election.
It was a campaign finance issue, according to the state.
And they're saying, of course, that when a payoff like this is not illegal by itself. And so it becomes, what was his motive in paying the money off? And this is why I think the court was correct in stripping the prosecutor of dealing with the president's motive when he did something. If it was an official act, you cannot go into what his motive was. And so in this particular case, I understand that the judge, Merchan, is it?
Yes, correct. Yeah.
Yes. She is going to review this whole thing now, as I understand it, because Trump may have been convicted of those 34 counts based upon the fact that the jury thought that he was violating election laws, when in fact the court could not, at least under this case, could not properly consider that.
Yeah, and also Judge Eileen Cannon in Florida in the Mar-a-Lago documents case, she has put everything on indefinite hold until this can be adjudicated as well. More from Roberts here briefly before we hit this break. Determining which acts are official and which are unofficial can be difficult, Roberts conceded. Yeah, I think so. He emphasized that the immunity the court recognized in its ruling Monday takes a broad view of what constitutes a president's official responsibilities, covering actions so long as they are not manifestly or palpably beyond his authority. In conducting the official-unofficial inquiry, Roberts added, courts cannot consider the president's motives, nor can they designate an act as unofficial simply because it allegedly violates the law. That's quite the loophole, if you ask me.
Yes, and also the case goes on to say that taking into account the official versus non-official considerations, the court concludes that the separation of powers principle explained by the court's precedent necessitates at least a presumption of immunity from criminal prosecution for a president's acts within the outer perimeter of his official responsibility. Such an immunity is required to safeguard the independence and effective functioning of the executive branch and to enable the president to carry out his constitutional duties without undue caution.
Yep, sounds important. Stick around, Richard. We're going to talk more about this after the break. I want to talk about Thomas's concurrence. I want to talk about Barrett's semi-concurrence, and of course the dissents. Stay with us.
Attention real estate investors. Do you need cash immediately? If you own one or multiple rental properties, you can use your equity to get cash out fast. The best part is we don't need tax returns or even a good credit score. At America's Loan Source, we are not a bank and we don't have bank rules. We make the decisions to loan you money, and there's no limit how much we can give you. Some clients have gotten as much as $500,000 or more within days. Use the money any way you want. If you own one rental property or 100 and COVID has left you in a cash crunch, we can help you turn your equity into fast cash. Call now for details and close in as little as 10 days and get the cash you need. 800-353-1760. 800-353-1760. 800-353-1760. That's 800-353-1760.
The Kaanapali Beach Resort Association is reopening and is welcoming guests. While some properties are opening sooner than others, all properties are taking reservations, and we look forward to your return. Go to kaanapaliresort.com for all the latest and up-to-date information on what's happening at Kaanapali Beach. That's Kaanapali Beach on the west side of Maui. There's so much to do. With a short drive from Maui Airport, we're on the tropical side of Maui and offer breathtaking scenery, an incredible array of delectable dining, and activity choices to meet your needs. We invite you to visit Kaanapali Beach Resort, but please be sensitive to the devastation that our beloved west side community has suffered. Lahaina is closed and will be for some time. Come to our open areas and support us as we adapt to a new way of life without our beloved Lahaina. Come visit the west side of Maui, Kaanapali Beach. Visit us online at kaanapaliresort.com. That's KAANAPALI resort.com.
Trying to sell your old car? Instead, donate your vehicle to Heritage for the Blind. Pickup is free and your donation is tax deductible. Just call 1-800-785-9618. Heritage for the Blind accepts cars, vans, trucks, and boats, whether they run or not. Call right now and receive a free gift. Call 1-800-785-9618. Donate your car today. That's 1-800-785-9618.
Then you will know the truth, and the truth shall set you free. John 8:32. Hi, this is Jeremy Dayton. Join me Sunday nights at 9 p.m. Pacific on Truth Radio, where we'll unpack the cultural baggage and discern what truth is amongst the sea of disinformation, the truth from God's perspective. With powerful guest testimonies, we'll also expose lies of the world created to spread fear and confusion. Matthew 6:34 says, "Therefore do not worry about tomorrow, for tomorrow will worry about itself." Let's do that by seeking God's truth together. Sunday nights at 9 p.m. Pacific on CRN 6.
And we are back in the Legal Lounge, CRN Digital Talk Radio, CRNTalk.com. Make sure to check out Richard's fantastic book, America, An Illusion of Freedom. It's available on Amazon.com, Barnes & Noble, on iTunes. Also, Richard's a veteran. Thank you for your service, Richard.
You're so welcome.
And if you knew Richard during his time of service in the United States Army or as a contractor in the Republic of South Vietnam, shoot us an email here at the office. It's info@crntalk.com. We want to connect you guys and give you a free signed copy of Richard's fantastic effort.
Absolutely.
Okay, Richard, I want to read some more language here from Justice Thomas's concurrence here. He brings up two issues. Of course, he agrees wholeheartedly with that presidents should enjoy immunity, but he brought up two issues that are not necessarily pertinent to the case itself. The first thing he brought up is Jack Smith's eligibility.
Yes.
He wrote in his concurrence, he agreed with the majority's immunity ruling, but wrote a separate concurring opinion in which he questioned the constitutionality of Jack Smith's appointment as special counsel. He observed that no former president has faced criminal prosecution for his acts while in office in more than 200 years since the founding of our country, despite numerous past presidents taking actions that would, many would argue, constitute crimes. If this unprecedented prosecution is to proceed, it must be conducted by someone duly authorized to do so by the American people. This is fascinating, Richard, because this was being argued, Jack Smith's, his eligibility, in Judge Eileen Cannon's courtroom down in Florida.
Exactly.
So can the attorneys down in Florida use this as part of their presentation?
Absolutely. I mean, they'll take judicial notice is what it's called. The attorneys have to be, awake enough to present that. Judicial notice is something that is used, for instance, if you want to show to the judge, for example, Your Honor, January 5th of last year or 3 years ago was a Thursday. All you have to do is ask the judge to take judicial notice of it, and then you don't have to prove it. So in this case, that's what they would do. They would simply cite this particular case. I think I'm on the side. I don't understand what Judge Cannon is taking, why she's taking so much time deciding whether or not Jack Smith has the credentials to be doing what he's doing. It's my understanding that he calls himself, purports to be special counsel. That office is over all attorney generals in the country. He has power of life, liberty, and property over everyone in the country.
Tremendous powers he enjoys.
And therefore, in order to have him properly named, he must be nominated by the president and confirmed by the Senate. And that's what Justice Thomas said there about the people must agree to him. Instead, it was Attorney General Garland who appointed him, and it's not really official. It is bogus, as they say on the street.
Yep. And then also Justice Thomas spoke to something that you and I have talked about extensively, especially when it came to the 14th Amendment Section 5 cases.
Yes.
That Justice Thomas, interestingly enough, wrote in this opinion that the president, vice president, speaker, and Senate president pro tem cannot be officers of the United States.
Yes.
And so Justice Thomas wrote, before a president or a department head can appoint any officer, the Constitution requires that the underlying office be established by law. Although government officials may be a non-officer employee, I set aside that category because it's difficult to see how the official exercising of the Department of Justice's duties to enforce the criminal law by leading prosecution could be anything but an officer. If a special counsel were a non-officer employee, the constitutional problems with this prosecution would only be more serious. So he's speaking to Jack Smith there. But also he wrote, although the Constitution contemplates that there will be other officers of the United States whose appointments are not herein otherwise provided for, it clearly requires that those other officers shall be established by law, refers to the office of Congress created by statute. And so if you read through between the lines here, he's pretty much saying that the impeachment judgment, that the 14th Amendment Section 5 insurrection clause does not apply to the president, does not apply to the vice president, Speaker of the House, or the Senate pro tem.
Yes, because again, officers are those people who are appointed, not elected. The president, vice president, etc., these people are not officers of the government. They are the government, and therefore, since they are elected, they are not officers. And if you go through the Constitution, you'll find that every place where the word officers are used, you'll see that they're phrased in such a way, for instance, the president, vice president, and officers. Yeah. You'll never see it president, vice president, and other officers. So the writers of the Constitution, the drafters, had taken some classes in grammatics or grammar, and they wrote it properly.
Yeah, indeed. Stick around, you guys. I want to talk more about this right after the break. We're going to talk about Justice Barrett's semi-concurrence.
Yeah.
She seems like she always kind of wants to, please both sides.
Right.
And we're going to talk about some of the dissents because the liberal on the court were big mad. There was no respectfully I dissent. It was a lot of I dissent, which is they're real mad. So stick around, you guys. We're right back to us.
Savor the past and savor the glory days of Las Vegas. Enjoy 70 years of true Las Vegas history as 4 generations of family wait to greet you at the legendary Bootlegger Italian Bistro. Wine, dine, and experience Mama Maria's award-winning original recipes while surrounded by original family photos and celebrity memorabilia. Enjoy piano artistry nightly with music from the Great American Songbook in our main formal dining room. The Bootlegger Italian Bistro, open 24/7, 7700 Las Vegas Boulevard South. In the entertainment capital of the world, the Bootlegger Italian Bistro, open 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. 7700 Las Vegas Boulevard South, in the entertainment capital of the world. It's Vegas, baby.
The old way of living with diabetes is a pain. You've got to remember to do your testing and always need to stick your fingers to test your blood sugar. The new way to live your life with diabetes is with a continuous glucose monitor. Apply a discrete sensor on your body, and it continuously monitors your glucose levels, helping you spend more time in range and freeing you from painful finger sticks. If you are living with type 1 or type 2 diabetes and you use insulin or have had hypoglycemic events, you might be eligible for a CGM through your insurance benefits. U.S. Med partners with over 500 private insurance companies and Medicare. We offer free shipping, 90-day supplies, and we bill your insurance. Call us today for a free benefits check.
800-989-1361. 800-989-1361. 800-989-1361. That's 800-989-1361.
If Ernest Hemingway was alive today, would he say this to you?
Shakespeare, Mark Twain, Edgar Allan Poe, all great writers. And after reading your book, I simply must add you to the list.
Wait, you don't have a book yet, so make a free call to Page Publishing. Their expert staff can help you turn your book idea into a real book, a masterpiece that could someday make the bestseller list in hard copy and digitally all across the world. Page Publishing can help you completely take your idea for a book, write it, and publish it. So if you want to join the ranks of some of the most famous authors in the world, call now for a free information kit. Turn your book idea into publishing gold. Make a free call right now to Page Publishing.
800-378-3212. 800-378-3212. 800-378-3212. That's 800-378-3212.
Are you looking for a natural health solution to improve your mind and body? Greska's Carbon 60 is an all-natural oral dietary supplement that supports your body's optimal health and performance. Studies show that Carbon 60 helps eliminate inflammation, often the root of your health issues. One carbon-rich serving provides your body with a powerful antioxidant to help remove toxins and free radicals. Carbon 60 helps protect your cells from damage and promotes cellular regeneration. Experience the power of Greska's Carbon 60 and say goodbye to pain, inflammation, and fatigue. Call anytime at 720-600-6040, 720-600-6040, or visit c-60.com. That's c-60.com. Greska's Carbon 60. Go to c-60.com.
And we are back in the Legal Lounge talking about cooking chicken. We are hanging out in the aforementioned Legal Lounge, Richard Nixon Live. You can check out all past and previous sections available on YouTube and Rumble, also as a podcast at crntalk.com/podcaster. Now let's get to Miss Barrett. She's the newest member of the court, of course, and a Trump appointee. And she joined in she didn't join. No, she wrote a separate concurrence.
Yes.
And she agreed with the majority that the Constitution prohibits Congress from criminalizing a president's exercise of his core constitutional powers and closely related conduct. But she would have the courts approach the question of immunity from the other official acts differently by focusing first on whether the criminal law under which the former president is charged applies to his official acts, and if so, whether prosecuting the former president would interfere with his constitutional authority. She also said something interesting here, Richard, where she says that some of former President Trump's conduct in this case, specifically his contact with the Arizona House of Representatives, urging them to hold a special session about election fraud claims, that would not be covered from immunity. The president, she concluded, has no authority over legislatures or leadership, so it's hard to see how his crimes committed while dealing with the Arizona House Speaker would constitutionally intrude on executive power. Your thoughts on that?
Oh, yeah, that's simple. I think she's absolutely wrong because, again, President Trump was still president at the time. He swears an oath that he will see to it that the laws of the country are faithfully executed. If he thinks he's been advised, and if he thinks there's been some false reporting regarding electoral votes, whether they be in Pennsylvania state or in the federal government, he has an obligation to communicate to whomever, and it turns out this person was in Arizona. He has every right to communicate with that person and see to it that the laws are faithfully executed. And again, if the people in Arizona ignored the U.S. Constitution, and instead of applying what the legislature said in terms of cutting off the electors at the 8 o'clock on Election Day. They extended it by another 2 or 3 days, as they did in Pennsylvania. He, that is the president, had every right to get involved in that, scrutinize in that, and it's clearly an official conduct by the president.
Let's get into some of the dissents. Of course, led by Justice Sonia Sotomayor, she contended that the majority's decision might sweep more broadly than her colleagues acknowledged. First, she argued that the line that Roberts drew between official and unofficial conduct, quote, narrows the conduct considerably unofficial almost to nullify. It says that whether the president acts in a way that is not manifestly or palpably beyond his authority, he is taking official action, and the majority takes an expansive view of the core powers of the president. She continued, this will effectively insulate and all sorts of non-core conduct from criminal prosecution. And then she, did the whole democracy is dying, I dissent. And then, of course, Justice Kagan signed on to that. And then Justice Jackson, in a separate dissent, complained that Monday's ruling has unilaterally altered the balance of power between the three branches of government, giving more power to the courts and the executive branch at Congress's expense. What do you think she meant by that, Jackson, saying at Congress's expense? How is Congress injured in this by this decision in any way?
Well, again, if you give the executive branch more power, you're by definition giving the other two branches less, if you will, trying to maintain a balance. But again, I disagree with her very respectfully. I'll use that word again.
Okay. Well,
because,
nice.
Again, unless the judges or the executive branch, or I should say the legislative branch, are asleep, if the president is going to be doing something so egregious, he will have done it while he was president. Why would you have to wait until he's no longer president to prosecute him? And it seems to me that what the Founding Fathers did is they gave us one way to get rid of the president. That is by prosecuting him while he's president.
Impeachment.
Impeaching him, finding him guilty if you do, and if he is convicted, he can be treated like any other Joe Lunchbucket, and he can go to jail or whatever. Now, let me read this very fast. Judgment in cases of impeachment shall not extend further than to removal from office and disqualifications to hold and enjoy any office of honor, trust, or profit under the United States. But the party convicted shall nevertheless be liable and subject to indictment, trial, judgment, and punishment according to law. Two things there. Number one, he must have been not only impeached, but he had to have been convicted by the Senate. Second, it says, but the party convicted shall nevertheless be liable and subject to indictment. It doesn't say he will absolutely be indicted. It gives you another situation where, as I said, the powers that be, the Senate and the House of Representatives, can exercise some judgment and not do anything to the sitting president. But again, the idea that what a president did, his whole conduct while he was president, apparently was okay, but after he left office, suddenly you look back on it and you say, no, wait a minute. I think what he did on that particular day, it was unofficial, so we're going to prosecute him. No. This is the only punishment that you can render against the president, period, whether he's in office or after the office. It makes no sense that something that you couldn't do while he was serving as president can somehow blossom into a cause of action after he leaves. So again, I give the Supreme Court credit for trying to split the baby, but they should have gone all the way and said he had total immunity, period.
I actually think that in a way, it actually empowers Congress even more so.
Okay.
Because now because what's one of the main complaints about your book and this show is that Congress, they don't like to put themselves in any position where they can be held accountable.
Right.
And so that's why they defer to the Supreme Court to make a law. And
Correct.
now, and they defer to the courts as well to hold presidents accountable for whatever acts they think that might be illegal.
Right.
And so now, actually, if the the courts cannot do that if the president does enjoy immunity. The onus is on Congress to police the president through its power of impeachment and removal, as you said, with the impeachment judgment clause. So, all right, we're going to talk about the ramifications of this case right after the break, and we're going to briefly touch in with the Fisher case and the Chevron case. Stay with us.
Experiencing pain, back pain, shoulder, elbow, or hand pain, pain from a sports injury? If so, schedule a visit with Dr. Michael Sheps, the leading expert in laser therapy for pain management. Call 310-873-4422 or go to drsheps.com. Experience Epic T, the breakthrough laser therapy system that Dr. Sheps developed to make you pain-free in less time. Laser therapy is a non-invasive, safe, and effective in-office procedure that penetrates deep into your skin without damaging the tissue. It perfectly targets areas of pain to promote fast, natural healing. Relax your muscles, ease muscle spasms, joint stiffness, and arthritis pain while increasing blood circulation. For over 25 years, Dr. Sheps has helped Olympic athletes and sports enthusiasts alike get back in the game. Schedule your visit with Dr. Sheps at his Brentwood office in California. Call 310-873-4422 or visit drsheps.com. That's DRSHEPS.com. 310-873-4422.
Are you ready to make a difference for the environment while helping the visually impaired at the same time? Then donate your vehicle to Heritage for the Blind today by calling 800-785-9618. Every donated vehicle will either be properly recycled in an eco-friendly manner or given a new life through reuse. Donating your vehicle is easy. Simply call 1-800-785-9618 and Heritage for the Blind will do the rest. They'll even arrange for your vehicle to be picked up at no cost to you. And for a limited time, when you donate your car, you'll receive a $200 restaurant voucher and a 2-night, 3-day hotel stay at one of 50 locations. Call 800-785-9618 right now to schedule your tax-deductible vehicle donation and make a positive impact on the environment while helping others. Heritage for the Blind, where every car donation counts and every person makes a difference. Call 1-800-785-9618 now.
And we are back in the Legal Lounge. Thank you so much for joining us here. So we, of course, have this historic ruling. You can read it on the Supreme Court's website, Trump versus U.S., all 138 pages of it. So where does this leave us now, Richard? Because we have two cases that are, we have the hush money case, which President Trump was convicted of, and now is pending sentencing. And what's going to happen with that? Because apparently Trump's attorneys sent a letter to Judge Merchant citing the U.S. Supreme Court's ruling earlier this week, and asked the judge to delay the sentencing while the judge weighs in on the High Court's decision how it can influence the New York case. According to a reporting from the Associated Press, does this do anything to the New York case, in your opinion?
Yes. You're talking about the hush money case?
Correct.
Yes, absolutely. Because again, what this case basically said is you cannot consider, when it comes to prosecuting a president for past conduct while he was in office, you cannot consider his motive. And that's precisely how they, I believe, prosecuted Mr. Trump and got 34 convictions, is because, and I'll quote here, Manhattan District Attorney Alvin Bragg summed up his case against Trump this way. We allege falsification of business records to the end of keeping information away from the electorate. It's an election interference case. Now, again, these so-called secret payments between people and someone that maybe you had a tryst with at one time, this is not illegal in itself. But what is illegal is the reason for which you paid the money. Now, District Attorney Bragg is saying he did it to affect an election that's coming up with him running for office. Mr. Trump said, no, I'm doing it to prevent embarrassment to my family and so on. That is purely 100% motive. And that is something that this particular case, this current case now regarding immunity, that the court has struck down and said you cannot consider immunity when you're going after the president.
Let's play a little game of hypotheticals here,
Okay.
Richard. Let's say this same decision was released in 1970.
Now we're talking.
Instead of 2024.
Yes.
What would have happened, same fact pattern, to friend of the show, one former President Richard Milhous Nixon,
Right.
if this precedent had been established by the time of the Watergate affair?
Well, I think, and I'm going to have to do more research now that you and I have talked about it. And you gave me a book called Nixon, and I haven't finished it. But I should say it came out of this library. Maybe I should not mention that. Okay, anyway, I believe that given what I now know about this particular case and what I know about Nixon and what he did and when, that number one, he didn't know anything about the break-in. He did not plan the break-in. He was not aware of it. But what he did, and people have mentioned this many times, the gravamen of his offense was the cover-up.
Yeah.
And so my point is, they could not ask him for a motive. They could not argue that his motive in doing so and so. In other words, when he got this money, I guess $100,000, to pay the plumbers for whatever they had done,
Yeah.
they could not ask him what he got that money for. It could very well have been to aid people in Africa, for as far as we know. So they could not inquire into motive. His reason for it may have been, like I said, helping people in other countries. The second thing is that they cannot use whatever they thought they found there as evidence to convict him. So I think, given a very brief time to research the point, I think Richard Nixon could have won his case had he hung in there. On the other hand, we have to remember that impeachment is political. They couldn't care less. The point is, he may have been impeached and removed, but then when he went to trial, if he did go to trial, he may have been acquitted.
Mm-hmm.
So that would have given him something better. Maybe he knew this all along, because I know that I recall his saying, whatever I do is legal. That's all there is to it.
Yeah.
And it was a kind of a snide way of saying just this, that he has total immunity, which I should mention here now. As far as I know, I am not related to that Richard Nixon. Not that I would be ashamed to be related.
He was a quite accomplished president. I mean, it's interesting now looking back. He was probably universally loved, especially by Democrats, because he ended the Vietnam War, he ended the draft, he established the EPA. I mean,
Right. Yeah, he wasn't a bad guy all around.
No, not at all. Also, and I don't know if we have enough time to discuss this right now, but I also think that perhaps an interesting strategy for former presidents who get in hot water, specifically for affairs or whatnot.
Right.
They could say, like, for the New York hush money trial, if President Trump said instead, he said, I actually paid this woman the money because I didn't want to embarrass the office of the presidency.
Yes.
I mean, couldn't that be considered a somewhat official act to maintain the dignity of the office of the President of the United States?
That's a good point, yes, because they would try to say, but you only did that for, trying to succeed in your election. But as I think Robert said in this opinion, you could construe almost anything the president does with an eye toward being reelected.
Yeah.
So you could twist that around any way you want. This is, again, why I said it should be absolute immunity. Catch him while he's president, impeach him, throw him out of office, let the Senate convict him, throw him out, and leave it go at that. If you want him to be tried, fine. But that should be his only, and that seems to be what the founding fathers intended. Otherwise, they would have added something to it.
More language. Stick around, Rick. We're going to be right back right after the break. Stay with us.
Hi, everyone. If you've been injured in an accident that was not your fault, listen up. We have legal professionals standing by to answer your questions for free. Call now and find out if you have a case and how much it's potentially worth. Call 800-745-9090. I'm here with spokesman John Wolf. So, John, tell everyone listening who should call right now.
Well, Maria, first off, thank you for having me here. It's always nice to answer the listeners' questions. Now, as far as who should call in, anyone who's been injured in an accident and think you deserve compensation, give us a call right now. 800-745-9090. You'll find out if you have a case and how much it's potentially worth.
Thanks, John. You heard it, folks. Take advantage of this opportunity and call now. 800-745-9090.
Advertisement sponsored by Legal Help Center, may not be available in all states.
No more mold, no more damage, no more outdated old bathroom, no more slipping and hurting, no more stress. Make your ordinary bathroom extraordinary for only $99 per month. New shower, new door, new tub, new wall, new anti-slip technology. Be stress-free. Call 800-973-5411. BCI Bath and Shower is made in America for the highest quality. Ask about our military and senior discounts. Your dream bathroom in as little as one day. First 50 callers save $1,500 on a never clear glass treated door. Call now for free premium color upgrades. 800-973-5411. Call BCI Bath and Shower, the leader in bathroom remodeling. Be smart, safe, and stay a step ahead of inflation with our interest-free financing options. Call 800-973-5411. Love your bathroom with free upgrades. Call 800-973-5411. 800-973-5411.
You order a glass of your favorite Cabernet, fresh asparagus, hollandaise on the side, a filet, medium rare. You unfurl your napkin with a flair, close your eyes, and prepare to listen. Ah, there it is. The sweet music you long to hear. The sizzle. The sizzle of a Ruth's Chris steak.
The most magnificent corn-fed prime beef, broiled to perfection at 1,800 degrees. Some call it a sizzle. We call it an anthem.
As the waiter approaches, you think, is this one mine or that one?
Ruth's Chris Steakhouse. Like Ruth always said, life's too short to eat anywhere else.
Make a reservation online at ruthschris.com or by calling 800-544-0808.
And we are back in the Legal Lounge, CRN Digital Talk Radio, CRNTalk.com. So thank you for spending some time with us. I want to just kind of bring this up real fast. We haven't checked in our friend Bob Menendez recently.
Oh, yeah, let's hit him.
And Bob Menendez has been accused of graft and corruption. And Richard, just real fast, I want to know if this is a defense strategy that you ever employed. When asked about the hoards of gold that FBI agents pulled out of his house, including bars of gold concealed in the pockets of his robe hanging in the closet,
right?
He brought in some expert witnesses, including his sister, who said that, hey, it's because growing up, our family, we were taught to hoard cash.
That's true.
Is that a smart defense strategy for Mr. Bob Menendez?
I don't believe it is. And also, it was something that Fannie, what's her last name in the other case?
Fannie Willis.
Fannie Willis. She used the same thing.
Yep.
She said, we were taught to always have cash. And so that's why we had cash on us.
Why she was paying the cash for all these like elaborate vacations with her lover.
No, I don't think they're going to buy it today. It should have been in the bank or someplace safe, I guess.
Yeah, I talked to the Midas Gold Group about that. All right, Richard. Also, I think we deserve to pat ourselves on the back. Because when the D.C. Circuit issued its flawed ruling that President Trump does not enjoy immunity, and they kind of laughed it out of courts.
Yes, they actually accused Mr. Trump and his attorneys of having a flawed decision by saying, Mr. Trump, when he argued what I had just said, that you have to, if you're going to go after the president while he's in office, you have to impeach him first, then remove him by the Senate, and then if he's convicted, then you can now go after him for like any other Joe Lunchbucket.
And also for our own personal records here, our scorekeeping here in the Legal Lounge, I predicted, well, first you predicted that the Supreme Court would grant former President Trump total immunity. I believe that was your position.
Yeah, but I was wrong on that one.
And so, but I had it where I think that they were gonna give him immunity on official acts.
Yeah, but it's not fair. I think you somehow inside information on that.
I predicted that they would grant him immunity for official acts and let the trial court decide what constitutes an official act and what's not.
Right.
However, I did not have the fact that there was all sorts of caveats on the evidence and what you can introduce. And so I think, I think I win the Christmas turkey on this one.
I think so, absolutely.
All right, Richard,
We're doing very well.
I appreciate that. We got about 2 minutes left. I understand you have some literature you'd like to read.
Yes. In the past few weeks, we've been in kind of a patriotic mood. We had the Pledge of Allegiance on the show. We talked about December 7th. We talked about the Flag Day, and today we're going to talk about, or at least commemorate, the soldiers, all of our soldiers, of which I was one. This is how it goes. This was by Charles M. Province, Province. I'm going to read it to make sure I don't misquote it. It is the soldier, not the minister, who has given us freedom of religion. It is the soldier, not the reporter, who has given us freedom of the press. It is the soldier, not the poet, who has given us freedom of speech. It is the soldier, not the campus organizer, who has given us freedom to protest. It is the soldier, not the lawyer, who has given us the right to a fair trial. It is the soldier, not the politician, who has given us the right to vote. It is the soldier who salutes the flag, who serves beneath the flag, and whose coffin is draped by the flag, and who allows the protester, son of a bitch, to burn the flag. I added a little bit there to it, but this is written by Charles M. Province, Province. Thank you.
Richard, that was a fantastic way to wrap things up. Very, very poignant reading. I appreciate that. Thank you, Richard. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
And we'll see you guys next week here in the Legal Lounge. As always, all past and previous sessions are available on YouTube, on Rumble. Also, make sure to check out Richard's great book, America, An Illusion of Freedom. It's available on Amazon.com, Barnes & Noble, and on iTunes. And we'll see you guys next week here in the Legal Lounge.